It's time to go!
What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to Fix It Garage and part 2 of this EJ22 rebuild. Last time we got the intake off, and we got the timing covers off, and a few other little pieces here and there off. Today, we're going to continue taking apart everything so we can pull the heads off. Today, the goal is going to be to get the timing belt off, all these cam gears and all these other idlers off, get this water passage off. And even though you don't have to do it, we're going to pull the valve covers off so I can look at the valves and the cams before I even pull this head off. And depending on time, we might drain the oil and pull off the oil pan today. We'll see how far we get. But let's get right into tearing this thing apart. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the tension off of the timing belt. Right now it's pretty tight. Because this is all coming apart and the heads are coming off, having the engine in time doesn't matter a ton. It shouldn't be at any risk of bending any valves, and we'll set everything before we put it back together. So we're just going to undo these idlers and take all the tension off the belt, so then the belt can just come off, and then we'll pull the rest of these idlers off, and we'll pull off the water pump, everything that I can get to from right here. I didn't bring my fancy impact gun home, but we're going to still try to get these two cam bolts off. Don't know if we're going to be able to get those off tonight, but we're going to try. So let's start off by pulling all of these idlers off. Most of them, actually all of them, are 14mm bolts. We're going to start with this one here first, and then we'll work our way around pulling them and getting the timing belt off. Alright guys, so we got the timing belt off. It's here in my hands. We're going to inspect it really quick. And I don't know if you can see, but looking at it, in these areas between the ribs, there's actually some cracking of the rubber. Probably because of all this oil everywhere, it soaked into the belt and it started cracking it. Luckily, we were not going to reuse that anyways. You may have also seen me remove this bracket that goes right here. Well, that's because I'm taking it off for now. 1, to clean it. 2, it's in the way. Also, I don't think I need to reuse this because this car has a timing belt tensioner like this, where you have a separate piston and a pulley. Well, from the last one that I did, I found that the EJ25 tensioner will bolt right up to these, and you can run the EJ25 tensioner, which is all in one, and it's a better part. So we're gonna upgrade from the EJ22 tensioner that I just showed you to an EJ25. I don't have one here right now, but I'll put one on screen right here for you guys really quick. So there's that, what that looks like. So we took that off, and then we also took off all of our idlers, all 3 of them. So I like to replace these on these EJs because usually the bearings start to go bad. So this is gonna get all new idlers as well. Also, I don't have the tool to get this back off again tonight. I was making sure it spun earlier. But I would take this off, and normally I would pull the oil pump, and we need to pull these cam gears off. But again, I don't have the tools with me to do that because I didn't bring them from work. Go me. So that's all the timing belt stuff off, and a little bit about the parts. It's all 14 and 12 millimeter bolts. Pretty self-explanatory for taking it apart. Again, because I'm pulling the heads off, I'm not worried about timing everything. If you were just doing a timing belt, you would obviously want to set your timing first. We'll cover setting the timing in a later video when this is all going back together. Now, because I don't have the tools that I need right now to take these off, we're gonna go ahead and keep going though. We're gonna pull these side covers and the crossover pipe. Once I have the right tool, we'll go ahead and we'll pull these off and we will keep going. But for right this minute, let's go ahead and get these other parts off, and then we'll jump back on this here in a little bit. So up first, we have the coolant crossover pipe. That's gonna be pretty simple to pull. It's 4 10 millimeter bolts, and it should just lift right off. So that's the coolant crossover pipe removed, as you can see from that. You can also tell that this bolt came out kind of not so great. It's a little rusty, so we're going to make sure we clean up that hole before we put this back on. We will remove these 2 O-rings at another point. No reason to right now. Pretty straightforward to pull it. Looking inside, I can see some rust type. Kind of rusty in there a little bit, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of flushing of the cooling system when this is all done. We're so far away from having to worry about that though that everything's gonna be fine. I'll probably end up cleaning it once I get the heads off. So the other thing we can do is we can pull our knock sensor off while we have it up top like this. So I think we'll just pull the knock sensor. Look, another random bracket. You'll find those on junkyard engines. So we're gonna pull the knock sensor off and then we'll work on the side covers. So we got the valve covers off and the knock sensor off. The knock sensor was 1 12 millimeter bolt, and actually I put it back in the block just so that I don't lose the bolt. Sometimes when it's something that you know you're gonna reuse, you can just put the bolt right back in where you took it out from, as long as it doesn't interfere with taking apart anything else in the motor. So in this case, I put it right back in the block so then it's there, so I kind of remember when I put it back together what goes there. Surprisingly, this actually works for me. It may not work for anybody else, but that's what works for me, so I can remember sometimes where I need to put stuff when I'm going back together. As for the valve covers, they were 3 10 millimeter bolts, here, here, and here, and they come right off. Very easy to remove. Now I can actually look at the rocker assemblies, which the rocker assemblies on this engine look like they're in really good shape. I don't see anything wrong with them right now. I'll see more once I get these off. I can actually see the cams. Before we pull the rockers off, we're gonna pull the heads off. In order to pull the heads, we still need to unbolt our cam gears, and then we can actually pull the heads. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pull those cam gears, and then I think we're gonna get ready to pull these heads off. All right, guys, so I gotta be honest, it's actually the next day. I was looking for my impact gun to take these 3 bolts out, and I realized I left it at work. So I grabbed it the next day, so here we are. Let's get these 3 bolts out. Let's get all 3 of these pulleys off so we can keep on going. Okay, so we got the 2 17mm bolts off for both of the cams and the 22mm off for the crank pulley. Now, the crank is pretty tight on there, so we'll probably have to heat it up a little bit and kind of pry it off. So we'll go ahead and do that here in a little bit, but I don't actually need it off just yet. So we're gonna go ahead, it's fine for right now. Next, we need to get these plastic covers off, which are broken. They are 10mm bolts. So we're gonna go ahead and knock these covers off and we'll keep on moving. Okay guys, so those are both pretty easy to pull off. Just 3 10mm bolts on this one and 3 10mm bolts on this plastic cover, and they both came off. They were very broken, so we're obviously not gonna be reusing them. We're gonna get some new covers for it. All the covers are gonna be replaced since they're all broken and damaged. We want this to look kind of good because I think we're gonna paint the covers before we put it back on. So we're gonna try to make them look semi-decent before it all goes back together. Next, we're gonna unhook the thermostat. We're gonna put a bucket under it in case there's anything in there so we can drain it out. Hopefully it's pretty empty, but I want something here just in case. And then after we get that off, we can go ahead and remove our water pump completely, get it out of the way, and then we'll move on to probably draining the oil. Okay guys, so we took the 2 bolts off for the thermostat, and we pulled the thermostat and thermostat housing off, and we're not gonna reuse that. So that just is gonna go in the trash. Then we pulled off the dipstick because that was in the way from getting off the water pump. The water pump was 6 10mm bolts and the dipstick was 1 10mm bolt right there. Pulled off the pump, kind of looking in here. It's not the best news that I've ever seen taking it apart. There's definitely rust inside this engine, inside the coolant jackets. Not what I wanted to see. I'll know more once we get the heads off, which we're pretty close to doing. In the next video, we're gonna pull these heads off. To end this video, I think we're just gonna drain the oil pan, see if there's anything in there. And that's gonna do it for today. So to drain it, it's one bolt right here. Let's go ahead and drain the oil, see what's inside it, and we'll call it a day. Okay guys, pulled the 17mm drain bolt out, and that's about all that we got. Ignore the rusty water stuff, just the oil. It's jet black oil. It's been sitting in this oil pan for a very long time, but at least now I know it's drained, so we can go ahead and we can pull off the heads in the next video. But I think that is gonna do it for today, guys. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. We've got these heads ready to come off. So first thing in the next video, we're gonna go ahead and pull these heads off and have a look inside and see what's kind of going on in there. And we'll probably end up pulling the rockers off in the next video. Thank you guys all for watching. As always, if you like what you saw, remember to smash that like button. Leave comments down below or leave any questions you might have about what we've done so far. And if you want to keep seeing more, remember to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you guys all for watching, and remember that on projects like this, you should never stop wrenching.